Morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Denise Rhymes, and I am honored and privileged to serve this congregation as president of the board of directors. We are, for those of you that are visiting us for the first or the second or the fourth time, and those of you out there in TV land, we are a very progressive liberal faith tradition. We have been in the Richmond area since the 1860s, and we continue every week, every month, and every year to continue our search for social justice in the Richmond community. We are delighted to have you with us today. It is all about Earth Day. It is also the end, the formal end of our generosity campaign, although generosity in this congregation never ends. I am very happy to report, and I will give you a little bit more of an update at the end of worship. We are approaching the $450,000 mark in pledges. We have about 132 pledge units that have committed for the coming year. So we are close to the halfway mark, actually slightly beyond anyway, I can't do math. We're somewhere near the halfway mark for our giving campaign, and of course there are many folks who give throughout the year and many who will still pledge as we go on through the year. We will close out the campaign with in case you were wondering if this food out here was for you, it is. We will end the campaign with our grills fired up and have burgers and dogs and other assorted treats. So whether you brought something to share or not, you are most welcome to join us after the service for some food and some libations. And finally, I'd like to remind everyone that June 4th will be our annual meeting of the congregation. At that time, we will talk about all things important for closing out this church year and starting next church year. Be on the lookout in First News Weekly for updates about a town hall that will happen in May that will be a preview to all of the key items that will be brought forward at the annual meeting. Welcome to First UU.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Sherman Z. Logan, Jr., and happy Earth Day. Joining me today on the chancel for this Earth Day celebration is the Reverend Dr. Faith Harris, a member of our board of directors, and also the executive director of Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. And we also welcome members from our Earth Care Initiative group, Anne-Marie McCartan, Joel Blum, and Jim Blowers. And sharing the musical talents this morning are our singers. This is indeed a very wonderful day. So it's custom here at First UU that we invite our visitors to introduce themselves. So if you are visiting with us for the first, second, or 100th time and would like to tell us who you are and where you come, please raise your hand, and the minister of the mic, Reverend Jamie, would come to you. Are there any visitors with us this morning?
Hello, I'm Vivian, and I'm from Gloucester, Virginia.
Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Dick Hall Sizemore. I'm from the Richmond area.
Welcome. Jamie.
Oh, hi.
Hi, my name is Sam Poulin, and haven't been here in a long, long time.
Well, welcome back. Okay.
No takers.
Okay, Jamie. Oh, you have one more? Okay.
What? Were you talking to me? We were
Yeah.
talking about my shirt. Sorry. What?
Are there any more visitors?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jamie.
Ro-
Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our worship service. We are so glad that you're here. So now, as you are comfortable, please rise in body or in spirit to greet your neighbors and welcome our visitors.
We go right into my thing.
Not yet. You got to do the prelude. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you go right into it. Yeah. I should be reading the song.
You're the boss. I don't care.
Well, I got to put my glasses on.
Good morning. I'm Anne Marie McCartan, and I represent today. I have the honor of representing the Earth Care Initiative team. You already met Jim and Joel. Other members present today are Jean Carter, Drew Fridley, if you would rise, in case we don't know who you are, Drew, and Fricka Raycroft. Not here with us are Charlene Harrison, Susanna Calvert, and Sarah Salto. We started this initiative to heighten our congregational attention to the vital issue of the devastation that humans have wrought upon Earth. We started this about last fall. I'd venture to say that there's not a person here or virtually here today that isn't concerned about the future of Earth. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith calls us to act. In fact, the motto of our Earth Care Initiative is motivated by climate change, rooted in the seventh principle. We believe that we must first develop a close personal relationship with Earth. Second, examine and adapt our behaviors to honor the independent web of life. Third, as a congregation, advocate that corporations, businesses, government, and yes, even churches change policies and practices that are harming Earth. We've had a good first year with this small crew. We staff a table in the lobby that features topics on reduce, recycle, reuse, and repair. Today, it's being sponsored by Jean Carter, who's talking about sustainable fashion. Please drop by and see her display and ask her any questions. We're holding a film festival that addresses the impacts of climate change. We're working with the grounds volunteers to plant pollinator pocket gardens around the church property. We endorsed a policy of Earth Care guidelines for First UU Church regarding the use of materials. We organized 2 sessions at the recent Tidewater Cluster Gathering, and we became members of a Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, represented today by Dr. Faith Harris. We're not asking each of you to get deeply involved. Instead, we hope to offer ways for you to do something. So we have an email distribution list of more than 70 of you who want to know how you can help with our Earth ministry as opportunities arise. If the future of Earth matters to you, and you are not yet on that list, please sign up at our booth after services. Do something. Thank you, and happy Earth Day.
Stand on the rock for freedom.
So welcome to our Earth Day worship service. Our Unitarian Universalism 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are part, make this day to celebrate religiously. Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, as a day to honor the earth and to participate in environmental teach-ins. Since then, the environmental movement has grown in this country, and the environmental awareness permeates much of our societies. At the same time, the environmental problems we have faced have grown as climate change, which have already begun in 1970, but barely recognized, and has a deeper and graver impact on the earth today. Problem with consumption and other environmental degradation has also grown with the world's economy and population. But there are promising signs too. Alongside these problems, people have begun working for solutions. In process, we are healing some of the other hurts of our society. So today we join together to hold our hopes and our pain, to honor the earth, and to recognize how deeply our relationship with the earth and our work for environmental justice is intertwined with all of our spirituality. This is not the work of one day, and on this day we honor the earth, rejoicing and celebrating our natural world. Come, let us worship together.
Being human means we are of the earth, by Sweet Home Teacup. May we recognize and abandon the familiar attitudes and practices that do not serve the whole. We are who we are, and we have the opportunity to be who we want to be, to create a new inheritance for the future. May our thoughts, words, and actions in our daily lives assist in dismantling paradigms of oppression and suffering. May we give thanks for our individual place in time and space. To our families and our relationships that touch and change us, may we give thanks to the wise teachers who help us remember how to be and the chance to make it so. Underneath and within these stories and histories is our humanity. Being human means we are of this earth. We are these waters. We are fire and atmosphere. We are the sun and the moon and the stars. We are all that we see, and the wisdom is revealed by looking in between. Would you please rise in body or in spirit for our first hymn, number 207 in the blue, the teal hymnal, Earth Was Given as a Garden. Oh, it's in the gray, sorry.
Three Our reading this morning is from The Dust in the Tracks on a Road, an autobiography by Zora Neale Hurston, published in 1942. The wind would sough through the tops of the tall longleaf pines and said things to me, like, "Woo, woo, you woo." The tree was talking to me, even when I did not catch the words. It was talking and telling me things. I have mentioned the tree near our house that got so friendly I named it the loving pine. Finally, all my playmates called it that too. I used to take a seat at the foot of that tree and play for hours without any other toys. We talked about everything in my world. Sometimes we just took it out in singing songs. That tree had a mighty fine bass voice when it really took a notion to let it out.
All right, good morning. I am announcing or introducing the Fonticello Food Force as this month's Share the Plate recipient. It is a nonprofit in Southside off of Bainbridge Road, and they follow closely with a lot that we do, like I said, this month a lot with the Earth Care Initiative, with the seventh principle, their respect for the interdependent web of existence and everything. This is why we've partnered with them this month, because like we say in the Earth Care Initiative, the same thing they're doing out there is like planting little seeds. So they do a lot of things just to be very intentional about not only being good with nature and good to Earth, but also creating that in a very communal way. They do free farm stands on Wednesday. They started that during the pandemic for people that are in need of affordable, healthy foods. They get it from Feed More and some other places that we've partnered with before. So it's really great. They're really child-oriented as well. They have a lot of things that are very hands-on. I had some folks this morning, Alex and Sam, said that they took, is it Iris and Sage? Took them down there, and they had a lot of fun playing with the blocks and the brambles and everything, and they do a lot of educational work. They have seed libraries and just book libraries and everything for a lot of environmentally geared things, and they're very communal down there. So I encourage you to give to this organization. I think it fits well with a lot of our principles. And money's great, but I also encourage you to go down there and just experience it firsthand, because it's not that far away. It's really great. The people down there are always really nice, and I think you get a lot out of it. So give generously, or go down there and check it out, or both. Thank you all.
Thank you, Drew. Please look on the monitors for ways to give. And if you want to give in person, the ushers are now past the basket. Offering now will be received and will be taken and most gracefully received.
Oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be, no. Where did all the blue sky go? Poison is the wind that blows from the northeast, south into the sea. Oh, oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be, no. Oil wasted on the oceans, and upon our seas fish full of mercury. Oh, 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 mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be, no. Radiation underground and in the sky. Animals and birds who live nearby are dying. Oh, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be, no. What about this overcrowded land? How much more abuse from man can she stand?
As we enter into this time of meditation, prayer, and reflection, please take a moment to center yourselves by sitting comfortably in your seat. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Close your eyes as you are comfortable. And let us enter into a time of silent meditation. Our Mother, who is here on earth, timeless may you reign, and may we never take your compassion for granted. The time is now. Your spirit be served. With our full intention and energy to create a planet Earth as abundant and blessed as in heaven. Give each person today their daily grain so no one goes hungry, and affirm our inherent goodness to care for one another as we give thanks for those who today, in their action, put collective good ahead of personal self-interest, and reminds us to do the same, and inspire us in all things to maximize our potential for the greatest good as we preserve and protect the legacy we leave for future generations. For this is our planet with problems and possibilities to do with whatever we can in the time we have got. Now is forever. May this be so. Amen. Ashe.
I am really very moved by this service today, and I want to open with just saying that I'm a true believer. And what I mean by that is that I am a true believer in earth, I am a true believer in humanity, and I'm a true believer in community. And those three things are why I feel called to do this work of directing and working and volunteering and participating in the climate movement. So my sermon today, I will say, Reverend Sherman asked me about a month ago, and I readily said yes. Why? Because I'm a true believer. But then my schedule at my work was so busy that I didn't have the time to put into it that I really wanted to and that I normally try to do for when I'm asked to preach. And so I'm not fully finished, but here it is. So the title that we're working with today is Resilience Means Reframing, Reforming, and Reviving. So this idea of resilience, defined as the ability to withstand or bounce back after crisis events. Resilient individuals or entities have a built-in response of elasticity or flexibility to challenges, threats, and problems, and even onslaughts to their integrity. Strength and toughness are key characteristics of resilience. I see a narrative shift among many in the climate movement from focusing on mitigating emissions to cultivating resilience against the consequences of climate crisis. This shift responds to the harsh realities in which many consequences are already baked in. Repeated destructive severe weather events are now part of climate change drivers. These events make the impact of climate change stronger or weaker and are the cause of cyclical chain reactions. These are called climate or weather feedback loops. One example is the water vapor cycle. We know that surface water is transformed into vapor through evaporation into the atmosphere. As greenhouse gases are emitted, the atmosphere heats. The warmer the atmosphere, the more surface water evaporates from oceans, rivers, and lakes. Warmer air holds more vapor, and the vapor traps more heat, amplifying the warming and leading even to more evaporation. Eventually, this cycle will spiral out of control and reach a tipping point that scientists believe cannot be undone by mitigation efforts. Once these heavier, warmer vapor cycles form, they lead to atmospheric rivers. When these rivers release, we experience wet microbursts or rain bombs. We saw this phenomenon just last week in Southeast Florida. The Fort Lauderdale area reported 25.6 inches of rain within approximately 12 hours. These microburst events have occurred around the globe over the past few years in South Asia, in Australia, in Africa, and we saw one in the Northeast in the form of 56 inches of lake effect snow this past December. California has experienced a constant barrage of rain bombs starting in December 2022 and lasting all the way through March 2023, costing billions in property and habitat loss. These weather events require immediate action from government and non-governmental agencies. They destroy lives, they destroy livelihoods, they destroy dreams and social systems which uphold communities. Yes, we need to double down on severely reducing greenhouse gas from burning fossil fuels. It is past time to demand severe reduction in fossil fuel use for our energy production. We must do that. However, even if we manage to interrupt the current production and emission cycles, we will still have the baked-in consequences of 50% more carbon dioxide emissions in our atmosphere since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. I have a harmonizer. So that means we need to focus on becoming resilient to coming weather crises. But how do we withstand and bounce back quickly in the face of repeated destructive events like rain bombs, monster hurricanes and tornadoes, global pandemics, habitat loss, and so much more? What factors, values, and solutions must we cultivate to survive and to thrive? The need to become resilient suggests we reframe the climate change narrative from a science and technological challenges for scientists and engineers to resolve. Instead, we should contextualize it as a global lifestyle issue. Many have advocated this simpler lifestyle, reducing consumption and production for years, but it has not sufficiently reframed the entire issue. The climate crisis is upon us. Every single person and every creature living on this planet is currently experiencing the impacts. We are vulnerable to severe weather events, and in Virginia, we have been incredibly fortunate. We have thus far dodged the most severe consequences of a direct hit from a hurricane surge. Yet, the coastal regions have sunny day flooding, sediment and water salination in their wells, and watermen who have harvested oysters since the end of slavery are losing their livelihoods. Heat island effect across the Commonwealth, with recorded temperatures of 15 degrees higher for these areas, where Black and brown and low moderate income communities are located, is a present reality. These are daily impacts many of our neighbors experience. Reframing the narrative prioritizes climate change as our time's most important political, economic, and socio-religious issue. It is not one issue to be addressed. One of the issues to be addressed. It is the issue that we must solve to save ourselves and to save our planet. It is connected to every other ill we currently face. We must all reconcile that we are reaping the outcomes of over 5 centuries of what M. Sean Copeland calls the colonialist impulse. This impulse shapes contemporary corporate interest in the fossil fuel and other industries. It is an insatiable quest for profit that is enmeshed with materialized and racialized vision of the earth and its creatures. The impulse is fueled by greed and the false belief in religious and biological superiority, which remains operative today in our globalized economy. These interests are so deeply enmeshed that even in the face of scientific data, almost daily severe weather events, and the threat of global devastation, our political and corporate leaders continue with a business-as-usual relationship with the fossil fuel industry. Our current congressional leadership is so drunk with greed and false superiority that they think it is a good idea to bargain with the recent climate investments designed to move our economic systems and our economy quickly toward renewable energy and significant emissions reductions. They think it's a good idea so much that they are making the debt ceiling vote about rolling back these investments. Reframing the narrative means we understand that we cannot solve the climate crisis by simply reducing carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions. We must address the historic systems of exploitation of the Earth's resources, the Earth's creatures, and the Earth's peoples. We must dismantle and undo the interconnected evil ideologies of racism, economic exploitation, militarism that Martin Luther King Jr. warned against in 1967. These are fueling our current climate crisis. In order to reframe the narrative from simply a technical and scientific problem to be solved, we need to reform our values. The climate crisis is a moral issue. It is not purely science and data. It is critical for us to put into proper context the way we talk about and understand the climate crisis. Put another way, every ill we face, racism, gun violence, record inflation, exploding homeless populations, immigration, protecting our democracy, these are all intricately related to the climate crisis. When we reform the values of greed, exploitation, racism that shape the crisis we face, we will also directly address the climate crisis. Reforming our values calls for correcting how we see ourselves in relationship to other creatures. We are creatures. Like all other creatures, we depend on Earth's resources for survival. We need water and oxygen and nutrients to live. We may have invented machines, computing, virtual reality, and AI, but when it comes down to it, none of these inventions can create or sustain our actual lives. We are part of an interconnected web of all life, dependent, codependent, and vulnerable to Earth's systems. Reforming our values means we need to have a conversion of sorts. And I know that words like conversion and evil, and dare I say sin, are not common UU expressions. While we may not often use these theological and ethical terms, they have profoundly shaped us. They influence us, even unconsciously, because of what theologians suggest as effective history. This idea of effective history is the idea that the influence of more than 1,000 years of Christendom, with its doctrines, theological proposals, and institutions, continue to shape Western social order, because all discourse is somehow engaged with either supporting or rejecting that 1,000-year history and that 1,000-year authority. Many theological ideas coming out of Europe about 5 centuries ago were dangerous for the earth and humans alike, and they came from the church and its institutions. As Willie James Jennings suggests, when early Europeans explored the rest of the world, they decided they had come into possession of the land. They operated with a particularly strange idea about the land. The land was something they could own, to be owned by individuals forever. The strangeness and absurdity of this notion that individuals can own Earth became normalized with the earth as a thing. The idea that a God gave certain folk dominion over the planet, the right to exploit it and extract from it at will, also became the norm. The idea of individual land ownership was foreign, strange, anti-spiritual to the indigenous peoples that Europeans encountered on every continent. Individuals did not own land. Instead, the land was understood to have life and spirit and character. Western society's Christian notion of the individual land ownership and individualism has made us oblivious to a sense of place and landscape. We talk about the earth in the language of possession, property, real estate, price point, borders, the boundaries of my land versus yours. This view of the earth led to corrupted behaviors toward non-Christian, non-whites, and the earth itself. In religious terms, these behaviors were evil and sinful because they disoriented humans from their rightful place as part of creature life and led to the crisis we now face. To reform our values, we need to recognize the harm done by these strange and false beliefs. Humans in many ways are possessed by the land. We will not survive without its gifts. The entanglement of racism, economic exploitation, militarism has brought us to this tipping point that requires reforming of what we value. Our course of action, therefore, is to replace greed with generosity, reject false beliefs of human superiority over the rest of life, and biological superiority based on race. We must accept human life's creatureliness and call ourselves into community with our earth, aligning ourselves with her rhythms and her seasons. Finally, we must revive the cultural practices, perspectives, and lifestyles that restore balance to our narrative and to our values. For the past 7 weeks, my staff and board have been discussing the book, The 7 Circles, Indigenous Teachings for Living Well. The book is written by an Indigenous couple who describe their journey to embrace their cultural heritage and practices for wellness. They discuss the importance of their cultural wisdom with movement and land and community and ceremony, sacred space, sleep, and food. The main organizing themes of the 7 Indigenous teachings are knowing one's history, incorporating simplicity, and embracing balance. While none of our staff or board have Indigenous heritage, we have found important connections throughout this book. The authors highlight the spiritual, emotional, mental, physical benefits of each of these 7 teachings, and their cultural practices stress flexibility, strength, the characteristics necessary for resilience. Reading this book made me imagine what life in North America was like for Indigenous populations before the colonial period. Life was tough for them in many ways, but they formed great societies by adopting and adapting to the seasons and the ecosystems and the rhythms of Earth cycles. The revived practices of indigenous peoples worldwide can help us become more resilient and sustainable in the face of climate change or the next pandemic. We will need to learn from these cultures and our ancestors how to live in harmony with our planet and not against it. Each of the 7 wisdom areas in the book had a communal component. The lifestyle Tosh and Chelsea cultivated was either with their community or for their community. While their practices always had a benefit for their families, they incorporated a benefit for their entire community as well. And I wonder how many of us think about how our practices and lifestyles impact the communities around us. Teaching the cultural ways to youth, sharing in communal ceremonies, growing, hunting, and foraging for food to be shared with the community, owning little, and being ready to give away possessions to those who need were just a few ways to honor communal relationships. I think this might be the hardest lesson for many of us. The idea of rugged individualism is a romanticized ideal in our national psyche, and it's a hard one for us to overcome. We do not live in a communal system similar to a reservation, but we have neighborhoods and cul-de-sacs and subdivisions where we can cultivate a communal lifestyle. We can share food or flowers from our gardens with neighbors. We can strengthen our relationships at work and church and honor the people whose paths we cross as gifts and not as, those folk in our way. And that's something I need to remember, because on my way here today, it seemed like everybody was driving 5 miles an hour. And I had to tell myself, they're gifts, they're gifts. We can commit to buying from local farms. We can shop at small local businesses. We can take an interest in the school board and the PTA and the city council and General Assembly to ensure that the policies and laws that they enact are free from the triple evils of racism, exploitation, militarism against our neighbors. Resilience means we can recover quickly from a crisis. It means we are flexible but tough enough to bounce back from disaster. It also means we are connected to community that can reframe the narrative to shift our thinking when reality dictates it. Resilient people recognize that the threats are sometimes embedded in our deepest values and are willing to dismantle and replace harmful values with healing ones. Resilience requires some reviving of ancient and pre-technical practices and wisdoms that help us all survive and thrive after the crisis. We can reframe, reform, and revive what's necessary to develop a resilient community. Strong communities are resilient. They are the hubs needed when crisis strikes. We all have a stake in this movement. After all, what are you doing that's more important than saving the planet and saving ourselves? Amen. Ashe. And may it be so.
That being said, we would like to offer you a song about persistence and resilience.
Walking
thank you all so much. Jamie, we may have to staple you to the floor to keep you from hitting the ceiling. As we end our service today, I want to, one, make a correction from something I said when I offered the welcome, and that is this congregation has been around since the 1820s, not the 1860s. And those 40 years can be really important in your history, so I don't want you to get it wrong on the test. This is the 8th and final week of our generosity campaign for the 23-24 church year. And I am very pleased to report, although I gave you a number this morning, what we had planned to do was also add in those folks who typically will continue to pledge through through their automated donations. And that brings us to 62% of the $950,000 goal that you all said that we could raise. We anticipate at this moment, however, it's not a final figure, giving of $593,141. So thank you. I am so proud of you all. For all of you who have offered your pledges, I couldn't be more pleased. We're at about 140 or so households that have made the pledge. And those of you who have given and continue to give, thank you. Thank you, thank you for giving a part of your paycheck or a part of your retirement or a part of your heart to this congregation. You should all be so proud of each other. We will see additional pledges roll in. If you haven't pledged, while you're stuffing your face, you can fill out a pledge form. If you have not pledged, we've made it so that your hamburger squirts ketchup all over you. So I just want to warn you, if you want to make your pledge before you eat, it would be, best for you. And I want to also thank the board. As you may recall, because we have not had a stewardship committee for the past 2 or 3 years, the board of directors has taken on the responsibility of running the generosity campaign this year. It's not an easy task. And every single board member, Beth Miksovic, Suzanne Short, who's out there grilling, Annette Marquis, Larry Kruger, Jay Clark, and Reverend Dr. Faith Harris have all brought their gifts and talents to help keep this congregation be the strong and vital community that we are. So thank you all so, so much. Give early, give often, don't stop. And again, I invite you all to join us for a hamburger or a hot dog or an impossible burger or an impossible hot dog. I think all hot dogs are basically impossible, so just saying. I would like to remind you that we'd like to allow the families with children and also those individuals who will be participating in the 12:30 class on the end-of-life conversations. If you all would like to get lunch first, because A, who needs a squirmy children around fire, and B, the end-of-life people, conversation people. That was not planned, would like to get their class started on time. Sorry, I really tried hard for that not to come out that way. So if we could let them go first. If you all would like to go get your meals as we're singing the closing hymn, please feel free to do so. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And now we extinguish the chalice. Our chalice reading today will be from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist. And this is what he says. You carry Mother Earth within you. She is not outside of you. Mother Earth is just not your environment. Fear, separation, hate, and anger come from the wrong view that you and the earth are two separate entities. This is a dualistic way of seeing. So breathe in and be aware of your body. And look deeply into it and realize that you are the earth, and your consciousness is also the consciousness of the earth.
So as benediction, I invite you to become resilient, to reframe the way that we talk about climate and our relationship to Earth, to reform our values in such a way as to dismantle the harm that has been done by centuries of false ideologies, and then to revive the practices that our mamas and our grandmothers and the ancestors have taught us and have left us, that we know will heal not only ourselves, but will heal our earth. Ashe, amen, and may it be so.
Thank you, Reverend Faye. Now please rise and bow in the spirit as we sing our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home, which is 1064 in our Till hymnal.